So moving forward with this, obviously Lee had the posters of you on the wall for DMR. My first memory or distinct memory is you and that relentless Suzuki, which is where you took your first win.
Yep.
And you were the first person to break 131 mile an hour unofficially.
Yep.
I mean, that must have been, and this is only a few years after you rocked up for the first time at the TT.
Yeah.
So again, you've kind of you've proven yourself on the roads. You've smoked everyone on the roads. You come here, you spend a few years learning it, but then you're right at the sharp end.
Yeah, I always said, and I said it again chatting to the Aussies this morning, someone said, what's your proudest moment? And I still think it's that my second year here in 06, first show on the superbike, and I finished second to John in the senior. And
that's unbelievable. Saying that out loud.
I know. Now it means more to me. Then it was just like, I'm going here. I don't have time for that. Like, I never really stopped to enjoy the victories or enjoy anything. You don't, because you're on a mission. You're just like...
That's a really common thing for anyone that's driven. It's like you've almost wasted 10 years of your life because you're just that... I need to be there. I need to be there.
Trying to kill dead things is the way I put it, you know? Like, I was so motivated. I'm like, someone actually told me that. They're already dead. Stop trying to kill them. You know what I mean?
That's a myth saying it.
And I always talk about conserving energy now. As you get older, your energy, you've got to conserve it. It was just like... So, yeah, third year, I came back with... and that helped me a lot. Here. So it was my fourth year as far as doing... I'd done the roads for Yule, with Wilson Craig, Robinson Concrete, and then I did a second year with them, but I missed the TT because I got busted up at the Northwest. Mm-hmm. So I missed the TT. So the next year with Taz, in fairness, was sort of my third year of being over in the UK, but only my second year at the TT on a superbike, third year. But, Phillip too, he gave me a lot of guidance, and the people involved, they helped me a lot. They sort of helped channel that
a great
energy.
Yeah,
he was the one that was saying, pick your battles a bit. You don't, because they could see every time I got on the bike, I was just trying to
pull the handlebars off.
Yeah, and you need a bit of that, but you need to learn how to cope with it too. Yeah.
And at that time, that team was used to winning. You know what I mean? They were, not saying they're not now, but they were winning a lot of races, and it was normal for them to win, and
it was expected.
Yeah.
And they never put pressure, but I mean, your teammate's Bruce Anstey, like, at the time, that's a whole story in itself.
The most irritating thing in the world is man sleeping and then smoking everyone. You're like, what? Everything that logically works in your brain to make you good is the opposite to Bruce. You're like, what?
Go to Spain tyre testing, and you're sitting on the plane going home, and you're like, what do you think of that one? And he's just like,
no way.
Oh, mate, I didn't really take much notice. And you're just sitting there going, what? Like, what? And he was like, and I used to think at the start it was a game. And then I realised, no, that's
Bruce.
Unbelievable. And I would love to get like a psychologist analysis of him, or do you know what I mean? Just to see what, and like for someone to be so laid back, but yet so driven. It was either he was bipolar, or there was like something else, or there was a switch on him that no one could see that someone flicked. It was like, I have never seen anyone in the world that different.
No, not that level. Northwest, I remember once a mad panic in the middle of the day after delay, couldn't find Bruce. He'd fallen asleep in his motorhome. He was asleep. I couldn't go to sleep in the middle of race day at the Northwest.
If you took a sleeping tablet,
you struggle to sleep at night.
And it's just so, and then running late bikes on it, and then he's out there and wins her on the podium. So incredible. But it was a great team, great environment, and it was perfect at the time for where I was at.
So what did it feel like coming into the pits? Again, unofficially breaking that lap record, but going faster than literally anyone has ever gone at that point.
To be honest, it felt great because I did it easy. When I say I did it easy, of course, you're riding the bike hard, but it worked. And you know what it's like. There's those times when it's special and it just comes to you. And deep down, I was like, bring it on. Because I thought that's just... Well, the long and short of it was that Suzuki brought out the new bikes, the 09s, and they weren't working. In practice, we battled them for the Northwest. Bruce and I had gone from being at the front to we were nowhere, struggling on these machines. Got here, we were both struggling through practice, and they were like, jump on the K8. Hector was like, I want him to do a lap. At least then he could tell us what direction we need to go in with this new bike. Yeah. And that's when I went out and did the flying laps and set the lap time. So I was just like, got back to the pits. I was like, let me race that bike. And Phillip was like, man, we're Team Suzuki. How are we going to race the old bike? I'm like, well, I don't know, but if we're going to win, we need to ride that bike. And then, of course, the next night I jumped off at Keppel Gate. So... And once again, I've said it a million times, I was only doing a slow lap, bedding in brake pads and a chain. That's why I think I made the mistake, because I wasn't as committed as I should have been. the rest is history. Everyone's got what could have been, but of course that year, yeah. So we missed that, and you know, you go on from there.
You know, when things are so good,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. That's if you're just cruising and it's this, that, and the other. But when things are going real good and then they're real bad, that people don't realize. I don't think.
Oh, I reckon, yeah.
Some
I think
there's some dark.
Oh, it's it was brutal. Like I remember in the pits afterwards, like, you know, and of course Denver, you know, one of my best mates, still is a great mate, mechanic at the time, and he was. Chest had about 100 PSI in it, and, you know, I think he might have said something to John or the Honda guys on the way past, you know, and I was like, don't, you know what I mean? They already want to beat us. Don't give them any more reasons.
Yeah.
But I remember making eye contact with John and just thinking, bring it on.
Yeah.
Like, we were mates, but I was like,
Yeah.
bring it on. And then, yeah, he probably slept a bit better when he heard that. Don't get me wrong, I know he wouldn't have, but we're racist. You'd still be like, oh, well, that one's out of the way.
One less to beat. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, the saddest thing for me is how many people would have seen me do the lap time the night before me thinking, oh, he was on the edge.
Yeah,
you know, I read on the forums and that too, and I'm just like, you know, whatever. Yep, of course I wasn't. But, you know, it's life. It wasn't meant to be.
What gets me is, you just spoke about it a minute ago about how you were ripping the handlebars off the thing, but then you do this 131 and it comes relatively easy. Did someone have to tell you to take, like, just slow it up? Because especially when we talk to people here, it seems that the slower they try to go, they end up going a hell of a lot faster. All these laps that seem fast are never that fast because you're on the ragged edge. So was that a conscious effort to just rein it back in, or was the bike that comfortable and that easy to ride that it just came like that? In
hindsight, it was like a movie. You can imagine the team, one of the leading TT teams, having this meeting. Well, can't put him on the K8. We can't. It'll be acknowledging defeat. Suzuki are here. They're watching. Blah 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 blah. And I remember Heck saying, "Put the boy on the bike." You know, it was a beautiful thing. And it was like, do one lap. And this is true story. Do one lap. Blah blah blah. And as we're rolling up to the line,
did you do a flyer?
Yeah. When I went up to the line, I remember Lee saying to me, I brimmed the tank, but feels good. Stay up for two. And that was as we were going up the ramp.
That's when you know you've got a good mechanic.
And he goes, tank's brimmed, but feels good. Do two. And I came out of, when I came out of the Nook, and I looked down at my dash, and the timer was going. I already knew. I'm like, oh shit, I'm on for 130 standing. And I was like, oh. And after fighting that other bike didn't work, it was like putting an old pair of slippers back on. Yeah. It just worked. So, yeah, it feels like a movie now. It was but I would have been riding it hard, but I had a lot to prove. So I was motivated, and I'd gone from a bike I was fighting to one that just worked. So it was a perfect recipe. How can they get a bike so wrong between the years, though? That's what kind of baffles me. It happens all the time. Yeah, it does. And in hindsight, they know the differences. I mean, the chassis was much different. They went from a long stroke to a very much shorter stroke motor. Mm-hmm. And, you know, without getting technical, I think you look at a short stroke motor backing on and off, there was more pitch, weight transfer. We had a completely different Pirelli tyre. We went the wrong direction with springs. We were getting a lot of movement that we thought was in the suspension. It was in the tyre. Like, you could, everything 6 months later we knew. We got all this information from Yoshimura Suzuki in the States. Oh, this was wrong. We've gone down that path. And in hindsight, but at the time, you got a new bike. Yeah. And that's where it can be harder for a team rider, where the privateer would just say, we'll keep that till they sort the new one. And without going on all day, the TT, if you get a bad week of practice, that's where John on that Honda was so hard to beat, because if they had the race the first day, you know, he's already got a setup. Yeah. You come here, I think it was BMW the first year. For a period of years, John run the same shock, the same tyres, the same... Like, even when that bike changed 5 years after, he still wanted the same, because he knew that worked, and he knew... Yeah. And BMW turned up, but that first year BMW here, they did nothing because it was poor practice week. Yeah. You know, you need... Good practice week can make or break, especially with a new bike. You basically have no chance, really. Unless you're unbelievably lucky, fall upon something with a rider that's willing to hang his neck out, because you obviously can't see until you push. And you can go to Castle Combe, you can go to the Northwest, you can go to Thruxton, you can go to every track that's replicating it, and you can get here, and it doesn't work. Yeah. So let's transition into getting to the point where you kind of, I don't know if you agree with this, Lee, that Cam didn't win as many TTs as he probably should have.
How many podiums? 10 podiums? 11 podiums?
Yeah, 10 or 11.
You've
I
had
think,
some
couple of
that
wins.
were, this is, I feel bad even saying this out loud. You've a few that are like no time.
0.6
Point-
with Bruce.
point-
Mate,
0.7,
like
yeah.
I don't hang on to it. It's 0.65, not 0.7.
Sorry.
You know, like, so on this, a superstock race or super?
Yeah, super
Like,
sport.
so that's
Super sport.
4 laps, right?
Yeah.
I can't do the maths. How many miles is that? For point, that is not even bump. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even.
Imagine going to sleep that night being Cam Donald.
But I just, I remember coming out of the nook and the thing coughed and spluttered. And when I crossed the line and when I came in and when I heard the gap, I was like, and I'll never forget, we sat down for post-race. And I said to Bruce, that was tough, Bruce. Oh, yeah. And he goes, I thought it was done. The bike spluttered a bit coming out of that. And I went, fair dues. He had the same.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
And if there was anyone you couldn't be mad at, it was Bruce. You know what I mean? If you won, he would genuinely be happy for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no... So, yeah, I suppose if it was going to be anyone at 0.6, it was Bruce.
Yeah, it was. I know. I remember coming down the mountain thinking, and at that time you're like, you can try to beat me. Almost. I knew it was Bruce. It wasn't me and Cock, but I was like, I ran the white line. I can honestly say I left nothing on the table.
Yeah.
Like I was quite prepared to ride off the edge to win that race. I took, laid it on the line. Coming up onto the mountain, I got, at the time I think it was P1 or whatever. It was just plus minus 0, and I was just like, this is it, and I'm winning. And I didn't.
So you left it all on the road then. When you got to the end of your career and you decided that, the TT wasn't for you anymore, did you feel like you could close the book on that chapter and be happy with what you achieved out of it? Or was the regrets in there?
No, I mean, I could sit here all day and say I did this and did that, and if I didn't crash and if I didn't get on the bike that was, that Norton was an interesting chapter and all those other things, but you know what? It just wasn't meant to be. I'm very much, my better half, Kaz, is pretty alternative in her way of thinking. Well, not alternative, she's a hippie at heart, she really is, but she's changed my way of thinking about things, and no matter how much you want it, some things are meant to be, and it's the universe, it deals you a hand of cards and you're playing the best you can. And, I got homesick a lot and went straight home where I probably should have stayed for the NEC and done more British championships, but life was good at home and lots of things like that you look back on, but no regrets, so proud of what I achieved. And then that's why I just sort of knew in my heart, it's just, I'm done. It's time for something else. It's time to have a break. And I never said I'm retiring. I just said I'm not racing next year. And just came back and did a couple of classics. But, and I still race for fun. But, it really is an interesting one as an athlete, how you transition from there, because especially the TT, it's been such a huge part of your life. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty addictive drug to try to stop, I tell you.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think a lot of you struggle to. At what point can you, hand on heart, say I'm done with this? Because even I don't think you're at that point yet. Even after everything you've been through.
I look at him and I think you can see it in Cam. I know you're a good person and a good dude. And you've got a good family and a good life, and he appreciates normal things in life. What I think that's normally the biggest struggle for people. Or he was never bothered or attached to this being Cam Donald. You were always the same dude when he came as when he is now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing. But I just hope when I quit, I can be as comfortable and as content. You know what
Again,
I mean?
I think big help Australia. I come back and I'm no one. I mean, not that you know it, but I go Australia. I really feel for guys, especially more than anywhere, Northern Ireland. It's tough because you've got people ringing you up, offering. You're not saying you got people bashing down your doors, but there's more opportunities. I mean, there's more opportunities, and it'd be harder to say no. It'd be much harder to say no. Winter's a long time. Our winters are pretty short. We're still active. Winters in the UK, everything stops a bit more, and if the phone's ringing, I think I was blessed with that and I'll never forget, throwing one little funny story about being I remember going to Phillip Island MotoGP end of the year, and I'd raced the Southern 100 and won it as a newcomer. It was another result. I was on the Southern 100 t-shirt, and I'm down there on the cans.
That you're wearing?
No, I wasn't.
He got it under
This
his
is true.
under his shirt now.
This is true story. We're down at Siberia corner, Phillip Island, with a couple of mates having a couple of beers, walking around the track, watching MotoGP qualifying. A couple of the boys are in the lab. We're standing out the front, and there's some guys are walking out of the toilet block. This guy, Southern 100 t-shirt.
No way.
And I'm like, "You've been to the Southern, mate?" And he goes, "I have, a couple of years ago. Best race meeting in the world." I said, "Isn't it what? Great people, this, that. Have you been to the TT?" "No, I didn't, but we're in the UK, went to the..." He goes, great, this, that, the other. He goes, have you been? And I was like, and my mates are standing there, and I'm like,
how have I?
I go, it's actually me on the t-shirt, mate, like this. And I kid you not, he goes, oh, piss off, idiot, and just walked off.
No.
Yeah. I turn around, two of my mates were laying on the ground, holding their stomachs. That's a true story, and I'm just standing there going, it's me on the t-shirt.
honest, Cameron Donald.
Yeah, and it was just like, so that brings you back to earth. But I think in Australia, it was easier being, whether at Australia, anywhere, but it must be harder to give up when it's on your doorstep.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about being out of my system, it's not. I'm here now. You know, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the contentment, I think. You know, you realise you did everything you possibly could at that time. Like, he committed, you say you were fully focused. You're not waking up at 45 and going, if I had this chance and that chance. That's, I think, I think if you believe that for the talent you have, you've done a good job, then that's, like, speaking to Whittam and people like that, that's all that I sort of learn out of it. You know what I mean? It normally ends up being people that aren't successful or aren't as successful that go, if I had this chance, or if I had, you know what I mean? Whereas people that are successful like Cam, they always seem to be more content because they have actually done.
Yeah, and just channel that energy into a positive place, you know, because you do get times where you get a bit, not bitter, but it can creep back in. You start thinking, this, that, but you just got to channel that energy into a positive, I think, and
like 22 when you were fit and
He was ordering super sport bikes off
wish.com
until he saw you.
That's really interesting. That it's such a you go through it and you're not Robinson Crusoe, you know. Most races go through it at some stage. I used to wish sometimes that I know this is a weird thing. I was almost going to say it without thinking about it. I wish I'd get an injury that would make me stop. But there was times where I didn't know, and I was like, I almost wanted an excuse. Truth be known, it's why we had our first child.
Yeah,
I said to Kaz, I want to have a child. It'll make me stop racing, because it was just, I could not give up.
Yeah.
And it was such a double-edged sword, because I want to, but then I didn't want to, but that's when you realise too, the writing's probably on the wall.
If there's any doubt in your mind that you don't want to do it, I don't think you'll ever get to the point where you go, actually, no, I do want to go and do it, and you go and do it again.
Look at this.
You're done.
Yep. I'm sorry, cutting off. I get excited. Like, look at the psychology in sport, any sport, cycling, motorcycling, darts. A rider will announce their retirement. A competitor will announce their retirement. Swimmers. I'm going to finish at the end of the year, and you watch your results drop off. I can't name a single world sports person that's finished on a high or just gone like, boom, to the end of the year. If you've announced your retirement, mentally, you've retired. I've tried to read a bit about it to understand it. That's why I've never retired. Because you can't, like, the minute you say it,
I reckon it's just because there is going to be. He wants another Southern 100 t-shirt done. It's going to be a comeback of Cam Donald. But yeah, you're true. Like Cavendish's document, you know, and that was obviously really sad what happened to him with the tour. But do you know what I mean? He announced it, and
once you do, I think you can't be that same. You've announced it. You're retired. Then from the minute you decide it in your head, whether you make a public announcement, whether you tell your missus laying in bed at 10 o'clock at night, you're done.
Yeah, because I suppose. Essentially, not only are you trying to fulfill the success that you want out of yourself, you're also making sure that you're having that success to make sure that you get a good ride for next year. There's no need to get a good ride next year, so there's no need to push that extra 10. So you go, I can back it off.
It's funny because, like, obviously the position I'm in right now, like, I'm not fit or I'm not back or anything, but like I said, me and Christy had a real frank conversation. I says, I know if I'm fit to do it, I want to do it. You know, if I'm fit to do it properly, I'm not coming back for the sake of coming back. But the amount of people that's come up to me in the last couple of days here, but that's you done now then. And you're just like, this is my whole life.
For me, that's just
like,
more fuel on the fire.
Yeah,
Is it?
I said to Christy, I was like, this is like, this poor old man has got no badness in him whatsoever, and I'm like raging at him. I'm like,
did you have him in a headlock?
But that made me then realise that I'm actually, you know, if I was done, I'd go, yeah, mate, you know, I'm not bothered what you say. I've done enough, but it's like pissing me off. So it's like, so if I am fit to, then I will.
Is there any part of you that hopes you're not fit enough, so the decision's taken out of your hand?
No. I want it to be for that reason. Terms. Like, Cam stopped on Cam's
terms.
and I think like I think I've way overachieved for the ability I have.
100%.
So, cut that bit out. So then I would always have finished content, whereas now I'm like, ugh.
There's fuel in the tank.
It's not, suddenly someone's took my toy off me and I'm like raging at the fact. So all that thing that I was content with now I'm not. Does that make sense? So it's like,
if it's in you, it's in you.
Yeah.
I did a dirt track earlier in the year and I remember, I still battle away riding the vets, the over 40s. Sometimes now I can do over 45s, masters. But, I can still run with the young guys and flat track. They're only a 2-3 minute race. But I remember one of the guys saying, geez, you boys still go all right for old blokes. And I'm like, who? And he goes, you and Brendan, who's our club president. And I'm like, me and Brendan for old blokes. And I walk over, Brendan, how old are you now? And he's like, 27. I'm like, mate, I squared this kid up in that next race. He's a young talent, but I hit him so hard up the inside, stood him up. And afterwards, even his old man come up and give me a pat on the shoulder, saying, whoa, you stood him up there? And I was like, yeah, you needed
I'll
that.
show you, old boy.
So it's still in you, when you've got to... There's nothing like someone saying the wrong thing or maybe the right thing, just to give you that little bit of a kick in the backside.
Right, before we go, I asked Instagram for some questions. I've not even checked them, so I don't know what we're going to get.
Probably none there.
This is an easy one to answer. Do you like MotoGP?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. Although they're a bit,
They're a bit what? Go on.
No, right now, honestly, I think some of them are a bit rock starry. I really think we're going through an era where a few of them need to be a bit more... Remember, they're only motorbike races.
Yeah. But I don't think Jack doesn't suffer from that.
No, definitely not.
He's
But some of the others, the hissy
Yeah.
fits, I think,
Is it? There's a question that's, what's your favourite part of the TT course? But the question I wanted to ask, which is similar, and I'll ask you both. If you could have a corner named after you at the TT or a section, what would you have? And I guess that's asking, one, what's your favourite part of the course? And what corner is like you?
I'm going to be really selfish and just say the whole mountain.
Brilliant.
Just about.
Course,
Not that big of a deal, but I just like from
Heading
Ramsey
up onto your section. Well, it's funny, when you said that, my section I always found the most challenging and enjoyable to get right was Ginger Hall through to Ramsey. I love that section. It was just so wild, and because everyone else complained about it so much, I enjoyed it.
And a little bit for the same twisted fact, because I'm small, everyone goes, oh, Lee suffers through there. I'm like, oh, do you know what I mean? It's the same...
Yep.
This common fact is we're both twisted men. It's like, it just seems to be but yeah, for that reason, I'd be like, right, I would never say I dislike it, and I would always get there and go, right, I need to really focus here. You know what I mean? Because the mountain comes easy to me. I don't know, because of my style, and I could always make time up there, or I would not lose time. But
my section I struggle the most on mountain. So there you go.
That would be whereas I would have to really dig in at, or even if I caught somebody in the first part of the lap, like the other year I was behind Jamie Coward, who's like a big strong guy, and I caught him and then got to there and I thought, right, now I'm gonna actually see, and there's points where I'm in the air and he's on the ground. I'm like, he's just driving away from me because I'm so light or whatever. But yeah, it helped me loads, because then I thought, I've got a really good marker here to dig in. Sorry, I went completely off.
That's fine.
Spot on.
We're going to finish with Steve Plater's quickfire questions. One or the other, no explanation. Dunlop or McGuinness?
Oh,
he's going to have to interview both of them.
McGuinness.
See, the thing is, when I say Dunlop or McGuinness, I actually mean Joey. But everyone always thinks...
I thought you meant Tyre.
So, Joey or John?
John.
Dunlop, Michael, or Hickey? You are going to have to interview them both.
Hickey, with all due respect, just, blows me away at the moment.
Lee Johnston or Steve Plater?
Lee.
That was the quickest answer yet. Get in. There wasn't even a blimp of hesitation.
And that's from the heart. Steve,
he's listening.
I love you.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
World Superbikes or MotoGP?
MotoGP at the moment.
I think we've answered this one, but I'll ask again. K8 or K9?
K8.
Ginger Hall in fact, you've answered this one. Ginger Hall to Ramsey or Ramsey to Cronknamona?
Yeah, Ginger Hall to Ramsey. Love the bumps.
Pineapple or never pineapple on pizza?
Pineapple.
Oh.
Thank you.
Just let me see. They say
He's
never meet
up.
your heroes, and this is what happens.
It's gone back up in Steve's estimation now. Perfect. That's the best thing you could have said. Cameron Donald, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I still don't think we've scratched the surface. Still plenty to talk about. We'll get you on for another one.
Would be a pleasure.
We need to go to Australia for the next one.
It'd be fair, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
See who I really am.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Cameron Donald is left now, so we can say anything we want about him, but I don't think there's anything mean to say about that guy. He's such a nice bloke.
I've still got loads of questions.
Right, well...
Yeah, but I didn't want to... I was trying really hard not to be like 13-year-old Lee. It's like this fan, do you know what I mean? Even though we've been... I've been to his house in Australia, we're mates, do you know what I mean? But because there's only so many questions you can ask someone without being a weirdo, I think.
No, I think we should maybe get him back for a Lee Johnston special where you sit there and ask him questions.
Why don't we just go?
Well, he said that, didn't he, at the end? Yeah.
He's pretty much invited us. Well, me, anyway. I'll just bring you as a...
Plus one.
Plus maybe 3 or 4, because I'll have a few other people, maybe. Steve will obviously go first.
Where would I be on your list?
BBC 2, maybe.
I don't even know what that means.
Second page.
Coming up on next week's episode is an absolute corker. It's a slammer. It's a humdinger. It's a whiz banger. Check it out.
The better my bike was, the easier my job was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted an easy job. I loved the riding and I wanted to win, but I wanted to do it as easy as I could.
As possible, yeah.
And then, but then when you have to dig deep, right, you just dig deep.
So the first place to watch that is right here on TT Plus. However, if you are watching this on YouTube, as ever, leave a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to all the social TT pages. What are they, Lee? Do you know?
I've got no idea.
Still don't know. We're about 6 deep into this, mate, now, and you still don't know. It's at TT Races Official across all socials. He'll learn one day. Bye, Lee.